What's up, everybody? Joe White here, and this is going to be my, I guess you could say, shot for shot um, trailer review for Avengers Doomsday. The trailer came out 2 days ago. The Doomsday clock. We got to start watching this freaking clock now. Like, what else are they going to throw at us this week? I don't think we'll see anything, honestly. I think this is all we get. Everybody's saying, oh, what are they going to do at Hall H? What are they going to do at Hall H? I'll give my thoughts on that at the end of the video. But let's start with this shot for shot remake here. Um, we open up with a shot of Charles Xavier um, looking at an incursion. Now, a lot of people are going to go, oh, the blue thing is just a reflection. The blue light is just a reflection. That tear that is right there in front of him does not appear in the shot before this. Like he's looking up at the incursion, and then boom, there's a flash of light, and there's the tear. Um, so he's looking at an incursion happening. What's an incursion? Incursion happens when there's a rift in space time and timelines start converging with one another. Go look it up. They've explained this at least 4 different times in the MCU, 4 different ways as to what an incursion can be. So with that, we're going to move on to the next photo here. Sorry, guys, I got to do this step by step because if I actually play the trailer without watermarking the hell out of it like I had to do in my initial review, Marvel's going to copyright strike the video and it won't get seen anywhere. So then we have Doctor Doom. This is Victor Von Doom. And Victor Von Doom is played by Robert Downey Jr. And you can tell from the sound of his voice that this is Robert Downey Jr., but he's doing, you know, he's doing a really good accent. One of the things that one of my favorite film critics, Mark Kermode from England, he always says this about Robert Downey Jr., and it's true. He always has this cadence, da 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 da. He always has, this cadence and the way he performs, kind of like Christopher Walken. Walken can only be Walken. One, he can't. Even when he did the Country Bears, he does that thing where he smashes the little wooden thing of Country Bear Hall, and he's like, "Oh God, Country Bear Hall." He can't say Bear Hall. He's got to say Country Bear Hall. It's walking. It got to have more cowbell, baby. You know, he has that sing-song way of talking, and Robert Downey Jr. is the same way. You look at him in something like U.S. Marshals, the way he's sitting there talking to Tommy Lee Jones. He kind of has that cadence in his voice. It's hard to describe. Just go watch him. You'll know. And he's doing his best right here to avoid that. And I think that's pretty damn awesome. So as far as the gear goes, I love the armor. He's got runes all over the place. We'll get into the runes here in a minute. In the background of the photo, this is the X Mansion courtyard. This is that famous scene that got leaked about a month and a half ago, of them fighting the Sentinels. This is from probably the end of the movie, right here, or at least the midway point of the movie. Spoiler alert, if you do not want to know this proves that the leaks are true, man. Those leaks, I think, that came out about a month ago about the whole plot, we'll get into it here in a second. One thing in this trailer specifically, um, a lot of the stuff in those leaks were real. One thing I think was not. But we're going to move on to the next photo here. Right. And the next photo here, as you can see, is of the New York City skyline. There's Avengers Tower right there. A little bit of a different, you know, motif. The background is red because we have the new Avengers now. It can't really be blue or green anymore. Um, we see that it has pyres attached to it. So we've seen this before in Daredevil season 1, episode 2, I believe. Avengers Tower getting a bit of a makeover. Let's move on. All right, moving on here. We got the Fantastic Four along with Thor. If you zoom in, Thor is there in the background right behind Johnny Storm. Everybody's commenting on the new jackets that they have, and they are walking out of the Excelsior. Remember the Fantastic Four, that ship that they took up into space in the first steps is called the Excelsior. Now they're to bringing the Excelsior to the 616. Or maybe even the, what is it, the 100, whatever the X-Men universe is. It's hard to keep track of all these damn numbers. Anyway, moving on. All right, now, next screenshot I have here is, I want to say this is Captain America standing in front of, or well, excuse me, Steve Rogers standing in front of Winter Soldier, Captain America, Sam Wilson, and Ant-Man. But also, I think it also could be when they're stepping off the ship. This is who is there in the Avengers Tower to greet them. Um, let's go ahead and move on. All right, this is an important one. And if you zoom in, you have Bob all the way over to the left in his socks and slippers and his bathrobe. He's dark; you can't really see him. But then you got, you know, U.S. Agent. You got the Red Guardian. You got Yelena. You got Ghost. I believe Winter Soldier is there as well. Um, to the right, Thor. This is, I think, where Thor is giving his big speech that we hear. If you look to the right, you see Thor with Stormbreaker. You see Sam Wilson, and you see Ant-Man. Also, you see the Fantastic Four there, but what's on the video screen is important. If you zoom in to the right, you see a red, a green, and a blue thing, some kind of symbol there. In the middle, you see a triangle looking like three planets getting ready to collide with one another. And then to the right, you see the planets converging, kind of like cracked open, and you see a countdown clock. The countdown clock reads 28 minutes, or it could be hour, or it's minutes, because it's counting down in seconds right beside it. And they're all looking at Thor giving his big old speech. Um, let me see here. Yeah, let's move on to the next one here. So the next one is Namor sitting on his throne with a more comic book accurate costume. We see a Aztec symbol. A lot of Namor in this trailer. This is the reason why I want to do this. A lot of Namor in this trailer. A lot of secondary character mentions in this trailer. Shang-Chi, Namor, Shuri. Um, those secondary characters are really coming into focus because you got to understand they have to explain what has been going on the last 6 or 7 years with these characters. They can't just say, "Oh, here it is, boom." They know that not a lot of people are going and watching these TV shows. They know not a lot of people went and saw all these secondary movies. Um, especially like Black Widow. There are still people who do not know who Yelena Belova is. They're going to have to kind of explain and catch people up here. Let's move on. I know I skipped over a lot of things. There's a scene there where the Talokans and the King M'Baku and all the Wakandans are kind of facing off there in the throne room. But the main thing I skipped over that there is this shot right here that I wanted to focus on. They're in this courtyard, in the X-Men courtyard, and Thor lands in the X-Men courtyard. How freaking crazy is that? To see Thor standing alongside the X-Men, or even in the same, like, the same universe as the X-Men. Can we envision that? And Doctor Doom is there. Look at this, Doctor Doom. How can you not get excited? You got Doctor Doom, Thor, and they're in front of the fucking X Mansion. That's crazy. Let's move on. The next thing I wanted to highlight is we got comic book accurate Scott Summers, comic book accurate Cyclops, James fucking Marsden, Donut Lord himself. I think he played Donut Lord. Yeah, he played the cop, the guy in Sonic the Hedgehog movies. Or did he voice Sonic? Hold on. Yeah, fucking Donut Lord. You got Donut Lord reprising in the role, putting on the fucking spandex. And so I know this is a totally nerd thing, and that only nerds like me who grew up watching these movies. I mean, let's nerd out even further. The very first X-Men movie was, I believe, written or at least co-written by David Hayter. David Hayter, who's Solid Snake from Metal Gear. Let's go down the rabbit hole even further. It's almost like I want fucking him to come. I want Marsden to come busting through the wall in this costume, and I just want David Hayter as Solid Snake to go. Kept you waiting, huh? Come on. This is so awesome to see. Let's move on. All right, the next one that I wanted to point out: Shang-Chi versus Gambit. We got the charged up staff. We got the playing cards flying around. We got the 10 rings flying around. That's not the last that you'll see of this, because they do go back to this battle later on in the trailer. But this is going to be epic. And I hope to God that they don't just focus the. I hope to God that this is not all we see of these two, is this little clip in the trailer. I would love to see these two going at it for a solid 5 minutes. This could end up being a team up movie, as far as I'm concerned. Excuse me. Oh, man. That red beans and rice I eat kicking back on me. I'm sorry, guys. But I almost could see a Shang-Chi Gambit team up movie here. But this is pretty badass. I got to say, I like what I'm seeing from this trailer. Unfortunately, it just confirms that the leaks are true. We'll get in there. We'll get into that. I promise. Let's move on. Speaking of those leaks, let's move on. All right, this one is what gets me. We see the TVA card, and I'm gonna have to split this up here. The front of it looks like the life tree, and if you zoom in, you got dots and dashes and everything. It looks kind of like a binary, like an old-fashioned key card to something in the shape of that tree. And then if we move on here, Loki, this is the other side of it. This is Steve flipping this over. Um, by the way, well, never mind. We'll get there. We'll get there. This is the card that in the leaks, this is what makes me think those leaks are real. Or at the most, somebody got an advance copy of this trailer, because this TVA stuff with Loki, from what everybody is saying, this was not in the CinemaCon trailer. This is new stuff to everybody. And this is what makes me think the leaks are true, because in the leaks, spoiler alert here if you don't want to know what happens, but in those leaks, Loki finds Steve Rogers in the past and tells him, I got to take you away from here because you're causing a freaking incursion. So I got to take you to somewhere that you don't exist so that you won't cause an incursion. And here's this card right here if you want to contact me. But yeah, then we cut to a shot. I'm going to put 3 in 1 here because this is getting long. Loki staring outside a window looking very sad, and he's wearing his TVA suit, his TVA uniform, if you will. And, you know, he's looking out the window of the house that we saw Steve Rogers in at the end of Endgame. and at the end of that teaser trailer that they released in Christmas. Now, here's what kills me. We don't know if this is the house at the end of Endgame. Let me explain here. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I had to get something to drink. At the end of Endgame, yes, we zoom in on a house that's on a street, and he's dancing with Peggy. Is that the house that's in that teaser trailer from Christmas? It could be the same house, but is it in the same universe? From the leaks, we know that he moves Peggy and Steve. They don't say anything about their kid. Or maybe they did move the kid when the kid was a baby, his son. But how do we know they didn't build this house in the Fantastic Four universe? Because remember, the Fantastic Four universe is in like the 60s or 50s or 60s. He could have built that house in the Fantastic Four universe once Loki moved him. And this could be, I don't know. I don't know. This could be the house at the end of Endgame, and then they build another house once they get to the Fantastic Four universe. He's got to live somewhere for 10 years, and it ain't in New York City. Because if it was in New York City, he would have freaking sat there and fought alongside the Fantastic Four against Galactus. Anyway, moving on from these three photos. All right, moving on. We then see the Wakandans. You got Shuri, the Black Panther, King M'Baku, the Dora Milaje, with Okoye and all her people. And then you got them meeting up with Ben Grimm of the Fantastic Four. Sue Storm is there. You got the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes. You got the new Falcon. I think his name is Rodriguez. Or Torres. Torres. Sorry. And then you got Ghost. And you got, if you look closely, U.S. Agent is there as well. This is coming from, this was confirmed at the CinemaCon trailer that they're meeting in a place where Namor has parted the seas. Like, this looks very reminiscent of Ten Commandments type stuff. They're on the ocean floor and, they're shaking hands with one another. If you go back a few frames from when they start shaking hands, you'll see U.S. Agent is there beside Ghost. But this is where he's like King M'Baku of Wakanda, and he's like Ben Grimm of something in Yancey Street or whatever. There you go. But let's move on. All right, the next thing I wanted to highlight was this one right here. Yelena Belova's there with Sam Wilson's in the background. If you highlight this, if you zoom in, Herbie is there from the Fantastic Four. So it looks like they're splitting up the Fantastic Four. Ben Grimm is going to go with Sue Storm, and it looks like they're Reed Richards and Johnny Storm along with Herbie are going to go to the X-Men universe. Give me 1 second, guys. So it's very crazy how they're splitting this up. This is in the X Mansion, and the next, let's go on to the next one. I'll create a no file here. Let's go to the next one. All right. The next one here is Mystique, and Mystique is looking a mighty different. Why? Rebecca Romaine is like 20 years older than she was back in the day, So, shorter red hair, a lot of spots on her face, and a lot of people are sitting there going, well, how is she Mystique again? A few possibilities here. One is that we know that the cure gun that she was hit with in X3, that cure is not permanent. Because Magneto gets his powers back. after being shot with it. Two, excuse me. Oh man, I swear, I made red beans and rice for dinner, and them. It's kicking back on me. I am so sorry, you guys. The life of a truck driver. Anyway, um, two is that after Days of Futures Past, after golly, hold on, guys. Sorry about that. After Days of Futures Past, everything got reset. Um, to the point where we don't know what the young we had X-Men Apocalypse release after that, and then that horrible Dark Phoenix movie, and also New Mutants had been released. So, but I don't think we're going to see Anya Taylor Joy come back as Magic anytime soon, nor will we see Maisie Williams or anybody like that. Um, but this Mystique is that reset Mystique. So that's how Rebecca Romaine can come back as Mystique. I like the new look. They gotta update it, man. You can't expect everybody to look the same. So we're gonna move on here. Who this is a long one. The next one is Charles Xavier holding Magneto by the hand, holding Eric by the hand. You know, a lot of people are speculating that Magneto's going to betray everybody and turn bad one last time before this incursion happens. We know from the leaks that this universe dies. Um, but he's comforting his friend, and his friend is comforting him. These two, for those who don't know, even it's even being portrayed right now in X-Men '97. These two, while they are enemies in the comics, they are really, really close friends. They've been through a lot. And that's one thing that I think the X-Men First Class and all that series of movies really took into account was that these two guys are friends. They've been friends for a long time. So this just goes with that. Moving on. All right. The next clip is Ant-Man and Cassie Lang. They're comforting one another because I think they're about to split up and go their separate ways. I'm going to split this into two here. In that same vein, we have Sue and Johnny. Or is this Reed that he's hugging? Another possibility that he could be holding Reed Richards as well. We don't know. But let's move on. Also, one thing with this thing. Nobody's saying it, but if you look in the background, this ball of light that's coming to them, the one constant in the Marvel universe is that every time we jump in between universes or in between planets, if you will, if we go from one sector of the galaxy to the other, it's hexagons. Those are hexagons behind them. Nobody's pointed that out yet. Those are hexagons behind them. All right, let's move on. All right, the next one is this is big. This is from the same Shang-Chi Gambit fight, but if you look, and I zoomed in here, um, Reed Richards' arm looks like it's extended a little bit or is retracting back to its normal shape. You got Mystique in the background, and it looks amazing where they're tearing that X Mansion up all the time, man. Let's go on to the next one. All right, guys, this is the big one. Doom stopping Stormbreaker and Thor with just two fingers. There's a symbol on his gauntlet there. A lot of people are speculating as to what rune that is and what runes mean. Just because runes mean things in one universe doesn't mean that they're going to mean the same thing in both universes. But this is right here is besides what we're going to talk about next, these two shots, and they kind of go back to back in the trailer here. This is one of the most important shots in the movie right here. I think this takes place probably in. I mean, I want to say there's a whole third act of this movie that we don't know about yet. I want to speculate and say that now, man. The third act of this movie is going to be crazy. There's already a rumor that it's going to be 2.5 to 3 hours long. But this shot right here, man, ever since somebody described it, Campia and the new Rockstars guys, ever since they described this shot to me, it's like, I got to see this. And it's amazing. Let's move on. All right. Actually, the last two here. One, if you zoom in on this photo right here, you can see that is the cracked Mjolnir that Jane Foster put back together in Thor: Love and Thunder. This is not the same Mjolnir that Captain America, Steve Rogers, took back with him when he returned the Infinity Stones. This is the modern Mjolnir, the cracked Mjolnir that Hela cracked. So, there we go with that one. And there we have him, our buddy, Steve Rogers. A lot of people are saying this looks like Hydra Cap. I don't think so. A lot of people are bitching, oh, why does he wear a jacket and jeans and a t-shirt? Why doesn't he have the suit on? My guess is he didn't bring the suit with him. We still don't know where Peggy and his son are, even though it's rumored that, spoiler alert, it's rumored that Doom kills Steve Rogers' son in this movie. Yeah, we're going that dark, people. But I think, this is just a retired Captain America. He doesn't need a suit. Anyway, I don't mind it. One more thing I wanted to show off here was this image right here. This is in the tapestry photo that was released by Marvel right around the same time, if not at the exact same time that that the Doomsday trailer hit. Guys, sorry, it's been a long day. I'm tired. I drove 9 hours today, and now I'm doing this. Credit to Comic Book Cast, who I have some. It does a lot of clickbaity crap, but this right here is on the right side of that tapestry that Doom is looking at in that poster for Avengers Doomsday. This is Tony Stark. This is from Endgame when he goes, and I am Iron Man. And Iron Man, as he's saying that, the Infinity Gauntlet is forming on his right finger, on his right hand with the nanotech. And this is where he snaps his fingers. That tells me that this probably caused all this mess, or had a big part with it, or a big part in it. At first, I didn't know what this was, and then Comic Book Cast zoomed in on this far. I wasn't able to zoom in this far, but you could see it clear as day. That's Tony Stark with his Infinity Gauntlet. You can see the mind, or the yellow stone glowing there in the center. Anyway, that is my kind of shot by shot review of this trailer. We'll see you down the road.
Now you listen to me, Aaron. You don't blow your money on the comic books, you understand? It'll do you a damn bit of good. And the Newtnags, you're going to be inherited mine when you're 16 anyway. Now look, the junk food and the candy just rots your teeth, gives you bad breath, and the girls run like hell. Stay the hell away from buying any rock TV shirts or hip-hop gear or anything like that. Arcade games, pick out one that you can do, okay? One that you can do as opposed to a whole bunch of them that you don't know what the hell you're doing. Techno music, this puts a hole in your brain. Are you listening to me? Look at me when I'm talking to you.
Huh?
What the hell? Get out of here. Oh, I don't want a pickle.
What the hell?
I just want to ride my motorcycle.
Man, I'm about to put the pressure button with the winner, man.
And I don't want to die.
Dude, I have no idea what
I
you're
just
doing.
want to ride my motorcycle. Comes.
G.I. Joe.